Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Monday, January 25th. I am going to start our week in math this week. Mrs. Ganem and I are going to be kind of sharing a few of the lessons and our explanations. And I'm starting today to just kind of talk and let you know what we're going to be working on this week and for the next few weeks. We're going to be working on a lot of story problems. We're going to start with what we call the operations and an explanation of what that means. And operations just have to do with how you might solve a story problem. Do you need to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Those are the four main operations that you would choose when you're solving a story problem. And you need to know what to look for in your story problem so that you know how to set it up and solve it and organize your thoughts. And that's what I'm going to kind of explain to you today. We're going to be looking at our four operations. As you can see in my chart here, we're going to do a little bit each day. We're not going to fill all of this out today. It's going to take us a little time to fill it out completely the way that I want to explain everything. So we're also going to be using an acronym, and the acronym that we have up here at the top is the word cubes. Okay, you're going to remember that word cubes because that's going to help you solve story problems. It's kind of like fanboys when we were doing our compound sentences, and that kind of helps you to remember all of those. Cubes is kind of the same idea, but it's going to help us with this math strategy. Okay, so tomorrow, Mrs. Ganem is going to be going over a little bit more about multiplication. We've been working a lot on fact families and multiplication and division and strategies for that. And so we're going to kind of start with one-step problems, and she's going to explain a little bit about how you might use that in multiplication. So up here, or in this box, I'm going to type a little bit, and we're going to fill this in and put in this box some keywords, some clue words that might help you decide when you need to multiply. Okay? So if we were in person, we would be kind of doing this together and maybe looking at some examples and highlighting some keywords. And we will probably be doing that as the week goes on. But to kind of set it up, I'm going to do it this way. And then when we return in person, we will definitely be reviewing this. So one word that comes to mind when you are multiplying is the word, product. Okay, a product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So if that word is listed somewhere as it might say something like, what is the product of these two numbers? Then you're going to multiply. That's a surefire thing to help you know to multiply. Okay. Another kind of a key phrase is if it says something about equal groups. Okay, if you have equal groups, like 3 groups of 5 or something like that, that's another kind of hint that you need to multiply. Okay, another one is the word times. If a problem talks about, how many times bigger is an elephant than a lion or something like that. If you see that word, that's another clue for multiplication. Okay, also, a couple of others that maybe we don't see as much, but the word doubled or, put in another one here, tripled. Those are all good words to know. Doubled means you're going to multiply it by itself or add another group. Tripled means you're going to add it 2 more times. So we can use that to kind of help us to know that we're going to be making that number, making that product bigger. Okay? I'm going to put another one up here that can be kind of tricky, but sometimes they will use the words in all. Now, a lot of times when we see those words, that means to add. But if we're talking about repeated numbers or repeated groups, then sometimes you might see those words in all. For example, if I need to add 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, and I need to know how many in all that is, I can add, or I can multiply 5 groups of 5. And so we kind of have to really make sure that we pay attention to the rest of the story problem if we see the words in all, and what exactly are they asking. Okay. That's also kind of like the word all together. I'm going to add that word to our box. All together. Okay, that's another one. A lot of times that means to add, but if we're adding repeated numbers, it can also help us with multiplication. Anytime we're adding or multiplying, our numbers are getting larger. Okay, so those operations are they're kind of like cousins. So if anytime we subtract or divide, we're making a number smaller. So those two operations kind of go together and sometimes have similar clue words. So those are some of the main clue words for multiplication. Now, like I said, tomorrow and Wednesday, Mrs. Ganem is going to be using this chart a little bit and kind of explaining and going over some examples using multiplication. And you're going to be doing some guided practice with that. Then later in the week, Thursday and Friday, I'm going to be teaching a little bit more about how to use this chart with division. So we'll come back over here to this box and we'll add some clue words for division. Before I go today, I'm going to pop up here to this box that says cubes. We're going to come back to this box to kind of, again, think about what each letter might represent when we're solving story problems, okay? Every time I start a story problem, I'm going to think of the C first. And after I've read it, of course, that's actually the first step. The next step that we want to do is to circle, went away there. See if I can get it to come back. Circle key information or circle the numbers. We're going to put that. I'm going to make it kind of small. For now, I'm going to put this in bold so you can see it. But C stands for circle. So after you have read the problem, you want to go back and circle the information that you will need to help yourself solve the problem. Okay? The U. And I know when we were in person those few weeks, we did a little bit of this in my class. U means to underline. We're going to underline the question in our story problem. We look for those question words like how many or who or things like that. And we know questions end with a question mark. So that's another clue. We're going to find that question in the story problem and we're going to underline it. A lot of times it's the last sentence in the story problem. So that's a clue as well. Okay. B stands for box. Okay. Now what in the world does that mean? Well, that means that we're going to draw a box around any other keywords that might help us solve the problem. So the words that I just typed for multiplication there, those would be good examples. Any kind of clue words that will help us figure this out. Okay. Key words. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to draw a box around all of those that I've confined in my problem. Okay, E. E can be kind of a tricky one. E stands for eliminate. Now, what does that mean if you eliminate? Eliminate means to get rid of something. So sometimes when we are solving a story problem, we or they give us information that we don't really need to solve it. It's like extra information that's not helpful. So if there's something that we read that's really not related to what we're trying to figure out, then we can eliminate it. And the way that we do that is by kind of taking our pencil and striking it out. We don't need it. Okay? We only want to keep and use and think about the information that's going to be helpful. Last one, there's 2 words that go with S. Okay? The first word is solve. After we've done all of that work, with finding the information, figuring out how to solve it, or figuring out what to do, finding our keywords, we're going to solve it. Okay? So solve is our first S. And the second S is, does it make sense? Okay? Does my answer make sense? Is it logical? If I get a number that's like way bigger than the numbers in my problem, then I know something's not right. I've made a mistake somewhere, and I need to go back and see if I can figure out what I've done. So it has to make sense. Okay? And we're going to be talking about all of these words this week and actually the next couple of weeks as we work out some of these story problems. So we will be adding to this chart all week long and through next week as well. When you get in person, we'll be probably designing an in-person chart very similar to this, or even sharing this chart with you on Canvas so that you can use it as you solve these story problems. Have a great week, and we will see you tomorrow.